Whether you're dreaming of a retirement with sand between your toes and a cold one in your hand, hitting the road to chase the winds of adventure, or spending time with your grandchildren, this show is intended to help you get there. Welcome to Coasting in Retirement with your host, Josh Knoll. You've worked too hard throughout your career to spend your retirement worrying. So sit back and kick up your feet because we've got lots of financial tips and tricks to share to help you get exactly where you want to be. Here's Josh.
Hello, Lower Alabama. Hello, Gulf Coast. Welcome in. Welcome to Coasting in Retirement. That's right. Thanks for joining us today. Josh Knoll here. I am flying solo today. Everybody's schedules were booked, and that's okay. I'm locked and loaded. I think I've got a great topic. And I am coming to you from Coastal College's recording studio here in beautiful downtown Fairhope. I'm ready to put on another great show for those of you tuning in. Listeners, here's what we got going on today. We're here to discuss financial topics relevant to those of you in or near retirement, living your best life along our part of the Gulf Coast. Here's what we got in store. First segment, deep dive, our topic of the day. I think you'll like it. Second segment, about 30 minutes past the hour. Now, for you regular listeners, our second segment is typically our headlines of the week, where we pick 4 or 5 headlines, recent headlines, and discuss them. But since I'm solo today, and of course it's my show anyway, I decided to mix it up. Instead of news headlines today, I'm going to give you listeners 4 to 5 essential books about investing and finance that you need to read, and one that you need to throw in the trash. Then we'll get back to our regular schedule, roughly 50 minutes-ish past the hour, our third and final segment, fan favorite, Josh's Crystal Ball and Big Mouth. Buckle up, we've got a lot to get to. A quick background on me, for those of you new to the show. Again, my name is Josh Knoll. I'm a fee-based financial advisor. I hold my FINRA Series 65 securities license, and I'm the owner of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. That is a 100% locally owned, 100% independent investment management and financial planning firm. We have offices in Fairhope, Orange Beach, and Mobile. You can find more information on me and the team by visiting our website, gulfcoastfa.com, or feel free to give us a call anytime, 251-327-2124. Now, if you just missed that contact info, get a pen and pad ready. I'm going to repeat it several times throughout the show. Speaking of the show, let's get on with it. I'm calling my topic today, the 5 secrets of a happy retirement. The 5 secrets of a happy retirement. But before we get into it, I want to provide some context, all right? First, I promise you all that this won't be some boring, you hear this 5 secrets of happy retirement. That's kind of a dull title, right? I promise this will not be some boring list that contains kind of overly broad advice. I was using ChatGPT to kind of prep for the show. And some of the things they had when I said the 5 secrets of happy retirement, maintain a sense of purpose. Well, duh. Or get out and exercise more. Okay, yeah, thanks for the insight there. So no, this is going to be specific action items derived from 2 primary sources. One, paying attention to my happiest retired clients, and then 2, combined with my own personal experience and opinions on choices I've made to make my life happier. And of course, I'm not retired. I wouldn't be talking to you on the radio if I was retired. But I've lived what I think most people would call a pretty broad and expansive life. And in that broad and expansive life, I've made a ton of mistakes, and I've learned a lot of valuable lessons from them. So we're going to apply some of those lessons, again, combined with some of the things that my happiest retirees do, into the list of the 5 secrets of happy retirement. And I want to give you all one last little warning, if you will. There's going to be some of you not going to like some of the advice that I give on this list. It might make you a little uncomfortable, especially the last item. And the last item, in my opinion, is probably the most important choice that you can make right now to improve your happiness in retirement. And of course, it has nothing to do with money. So I hope you're curious. Let's get at it. So first, 5 secrets of a happy retirement. Again, we're going against the grain a little bit here. You could put anything in, eat healthy, travel, all that. We're going to be more hyper-specific and maybe a little bit more unique, and hopefully you like that. So first, and this is no particular order except the last one. The last one on this list of 5 is, in my opinion, one of the most important things. But first, form your financial team. And what I mean by that, and that's going to sound a little self-serving, but trust me on this. The happiest, most at ease retirees that I see have a financial team in place. And typically that financial team comprises of a financial advisor, an attorney, usually an estate planning attorney, a CPA or accountant, and then somebody that kind of handles the risk management for them, whether that's health insurance, life insurance, long-term care insurance. That could even be on the property and casualty side, or for you business owners, you've got a good broker that handles your umbrella policies and your builder's risk, whatever it may be. The most at ease surrounds themselves with a great team so that they're not doing everything themselves, especially in our current very fast-paced world. It's hard. I mean, it would be, even as much as I know at this point about estate planning, for me to even pretend to function in an estate planning role would be ludicrous. I'd be so, after you got past 10 minutes of what I do know, everything else I'd be totally out of my depth. And when you're putting your financial team together, the one thing that I do know the most is, because as a financial advice side, because I'm a financial advisor, I think it's really, really important. One of the reasons I wanted to bring this up for you all is anybody that pays any attention to the news hears the horror stories of folks, in or near retirement, getting a financial advisor that made bad investments or gave them bad advice, or God help us, actually defrauded them. We had a show here recently about some of the shenanigans that quote unquote financial advisors have gotten their clients into. And a lot of times what you find out is either the financial advisor was promoting themselves as something they weren't, or even worse, they didn't even have a license to do anything what they were talking about. So it's really important that you all take the time to know the difference between the different types of advisors. Is the person you're talking to a broker? Are they an agent? Are they duly registered? Are they an advisor? If they're an advisor, are they fee-based? Are they fee-only? Do they take, all this stuff? These things, these conversations up front, sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable if you don't know. And I can tell you, if you're sitting with again, quote unquote, financial advisor, and you ask them how they're licensed or what their true title is, and they get uncomfortable about that, that's a huge red flag. Because a lot of times how a financial advisor / agent / broker is licensed is going to dictate the direction that they take your investment choices. And that can have a huge impact on the chances of your financial success in retirement. So again, really important. I think that a lot of times people want to do these things on their own, and I cheer that. I'm one of the few financial advisors that doesn't try to talk down to people that have the ability to handle their own investments. I think it's wonderful. But if you can find a financial advisor that has some flexibility, in my opinion, particularly in the independent space, particularly in the fiduciary-based, fee-based, fee-only space, you'd probably be surprised at the amount of flexibility that advisors like that, like me, have with working with you. A lot of times I think people think you're coming into a situation where an advisor is going to demand that they take over all aspects of your financial life. That's not the case. My job in the ones that work the best, and again, my opinion with our happiest retirees, my job is really to be kind of the point guard of the financial team. I'm coordinating and talking with your permission, obviously, with the estate planning attorney, wills and trusts, all the stuff that goes in that. I'm talking, again, with your permission, with your CPA, your accountant. I'm talking with your risk management consultant. And of course, if you don't already have that team built out, that's one of the value adds that we provide at Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. I've been doing this a long time down here, and I've got deep relationships, both personally and professionally, with those professionals I just listed, CPAs, accountants, attorneys, risk management. And in my opinion, I work with the best and the brightest of the Gulf Coast. So that's number one on 5 secrets of having a happy retirement. Let's get to number 2. Let's take it a little different direction. Number 2. So my grandpa used to have a saying, if you roll around in the slop with the pigs get happy and you get covered in pig stuff, right? So roll around in the slop with the pigs get happy, you get covered in pig stuff. The point of that is social media. If you are spending a lot of your time getting involved in pointless arguments on social media, then you are without a doubt doing what my grandpa said was kind of a waste of time. You're rolling around in the slop with the pigs. They're happy. There's people out there that just love to argue. If you are trying to have a happy retirement, and maybe that does make you happy, but if you want to be a client of mine, you need to get yourself out of the slop. It will undoubtedly help you with your overall happiness. There is literally nothing more round and round and round and round. Have you ever, for those of y'all that engage in social media, have you ever seen anybody's opinion changed by, some argument? And I don't care what it's, political, social, financial, whatever. You're wasting your time. We try to at least influence people's opinions through this radio show, but I can tell you now, having done this going on 3 years, it takes time. You've got to be willing to be calm and be level-headed and focus on the educational side, because there are things that just pick my industry in general. There are some things that happen in my industry that they just drive me nuts. But if I go in too hard on some of those parts of the industry, I can come off looking like sour grapes and actually turn people off from hearing what I have to say. I've had that happen first time. I've had people come in with annuity contracts and tell me, Josh, there's no way you can compete with my guy because he guaranteed me 8% return with no risk. And in the old days, years ago, oh my gosh, I get so mad. I was like, y'all, you don't understand. That does not exist, at least not in the way that this advisor, which more often than not, just to be a salesperson, is describing. That doesn't exist, period. Here's what I've learned over time is slow down, catch my breath, walk them through that. Not to be self-serving here, but when you're on this particular side of the business, you do have somewhat of a responsibility to help people out, even if they don't do business with you, just to make sure that they don't get in a situation where they get in a situation they're not prepared for. Not that there's anything wrong. We're going to talk more about this in a minute. There's a place for some of these products. The problem is they're oversold. So back to social media and all that. One of the secrets of happy retirement, the happiest retirement couples I have, it's not that they, like my mom and dad, I think in general, are very happy, and they're on social media, but you're never going to find my mom and dad who are retired, or at least mom is, dad's semi-retired. You're never going to find them just blowing back on some of the nonsense that's being out there because they know it's the road to nowhere. All right. Number 3, this is important. Don't let fear dictate your investment choices. Now, this statement, there's many flavors of that, and I'm going to break them all down. First, don't let fear dictate your investment choices. First, fear of investing in the stock market, okay? That's a powerful fear, and we respect that. And there is always risk investing in the stock market. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. Anybody who tells you they got some special formula that takes all the risk out of investing in the market, the saying, run, don't walk away, don't listen to that nonsense. There's always going to be something. But if you look at, and we talked about this in previous episodes on the show, but if you look at the history of the stock market, and particularly the history of the major indexes and the history of what I would call at least investing in companies that are actual legitimate companies. And generally speaking, if you're investing in companies that are in an index, broad statement, but usually those companies have, like the S&P 500, what that means is Standard & Poor pick what they think are the best 500 representative companies of the 3,000-ish that are in the overall market, right? So there's at least some betting there. If you look at the overall history of the indexes, I mean, if you had just done nothing else than broadly indexed from when you all were young, you would have a multitude of capital appreciation, compounded growth on your investments over the last 30, 40, 50 years. Doesn't mean it always went up, but because it does. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. But over time, it has gone up and to the right. Doesn't mean there's a guarantee of that. I can tell you that if it ever stops going up and to the right, and it flatlines or goes down to the right, down, not up, over a long period of time, we've got serious problems. And this radio show and every other radio show is going to be completely irrelevant because that means that we're probably dealing with some type of threat to humanity, if you will. Outside of that threat to humanity, don't let people talk you out of being scared to invest in the market because given our current monetary policy, where we run federal deficits every year, and that's, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, that's true across the board. We run deficits every year, federal deficits every year. Right now we're running it to the tune of $2+ trillion. To finance that, the government has to break out their credit card, i.e. they have to print more money. When they print more money in the form of treasuries and debt, that is just that much more money that's pumped into the system. And money is like water. It wants to flow somewhere. And what has been proven over the last 40, 50, 60 years is that at least some of that monetary supply is going to find its way to the stock market. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed the market's going to go up. I'm just telling you that there is constant inflationary and monetary pressure on the market performing. There's this. Second fear of missing out. Now, there has been all kinds of fear of missing out. And again, we did a FOMO, fear of missing out episode. I don't remember how long ago it was. We've been doing this a while. And we talked about all kinds of different fear of missing out. I used my own experience coming out of college in 1998. I had a fear of missing out in the real estate boom, which I eventually got into and rode that wave and then crashed on the shore like a lot of other people did in 2008, 2009. There was fear of missing out with the dot-com boom. There's a little bit of fear of missing out with artificial intelligence, although I will tell you all that whether you realize it or not, if you have a typical investment portfolio, you are more invested in the success of artificial intelligence than you may realize, given that the Magnificent Seven stocks, Google, which is Alphabet, Meta, which is Facebook, Tesla, Microsoft, NVIDIA, all of those companies are betting heavily on AI, and all those companies make up a significant portion of the indexes that are available for most people most people have some type of index tracking fund in their portfolio. Not all, but most, right? So no, really for me, the fear of missing out right now, I think the biggest danger around it is around crypto. I'm not going to dive into this. This is definitely can be a little bit of a sore spot because not only is there fear of missing out, there's what I have coined a term called FOLO, fear of looking old, because it just doesn't look very hip. It makes you look out of date when you're being a little bit of a crypto critic. But like with anything else, I mean, just like with annuities, we're going to talk about in a minute. Crypto comes in many different flavors. You can, without a doubt, a born skeptic here, I can tell you that at least for right now, it appears that Bitcoin has some staying power. It just does. It appears that stable coins are going to have some type of place in our financial ecosystem. I'm willing to admit that. But don't have a fear of missing out when it comes to meme coins. And I can't use a word on the radio, but let's just call them crap coins and NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and all that. It's those things were created specifically to take money from the ill-informed and give it to a smaller insider group. Period. That's it. That's the only reason they truly exist. No one wants to say that because it sounds really predatory, but it is. So I'm not advocating Bitcoin above all else. I'm not advocating stablecoins. I'm just telling you that you need to know the differences. Then if you have fear of missing out on something like Bitcoin, you've at least got an argument there to be made because Bitcoin, along with gold, again, related to the increase in monetary supply, has gone up significantly. For many years, but definitely this past year. So no, if you're going to have fear of missing out, especially around crypto, at least know the different classes. And then that leads me into the different classes. Fear selling, which more often than not in our industry is related to fear selling around annuities. So I just want you all to know, especially you baby boomers, the annuity sales army is coming for you. Yeah, they're already here, but they're coming for you. And you need, just like with what we a little bit more established, but what I was just saying with crypto, you need to know the differences between the different types of annuities so that you know what you're getting at least presented to you. So first, let's put the boring side of the annuity bucket to one side. There's single premium immediate annuities, those are called SPIAs. There's deferred income annuities, those are DIAs. There's multi-year guaranteed annuities, those are MIGAs. All right, so that's your three kind of old school boring type of annuities. A MIGA functions, smells a lot similar to a bank CD, although it's not FDIC insured, but it basically gives you a percentage interest rate over a period of time in exchange for locking up your money. Usually 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I think they go up to 7. I don't do a ton of them. SPIAs and DIAs, single premium immediate annuity and deferred income annuity. Those are, the deferred income annuity is where you put in money into an annuity over time so that at some point in the distant future, it's going to turn on an income stream. If that sounds like a pension, that's because that's exactly what it is. A lot of pensions are funded by insurance companies that use deferred income annuities to turn on the income stream whenever that person annuitizes their contract and goes into retirement. Single premium immediate annuity is the kissing cousin of the deferred. Basically, you're placing typically a large or semi-large premium deposit up front. In exchange, you're going to turn on a relatively immediate income stream. I think it's 30 days or 30 to 90 days. It happens very quickly, okay? Those are, if anybody tells you they hate those kind of annuities, they don't know what they're talking about, because those are very easy to understand. For people that want a pension-like income or a bank CD-like return, then those are options. That's it. So anybody tells you that they hate those three, that when they say they hate annuities, you need to ask them what they know about SPIAs, DIAs, and MIGAs, because they're probably lumping in our last two annuities, which are why this is where the fear selling comes in. Fixed index annuity and variable annuities. Now, variable annuities, in my opinion, are becoming the dinosaur of the annuity industry, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. I know there's still people out there that sell them. You have to have a certain type of registration to sell variable annuities. I don't have it anymore. I gave it up a long time ago. But really, the big dog, the 800-pound gorilla in the annuity space right now is fixed index annuities. Some states or areas of the country call them equity index annuities, but for our part of the Gulf Coast, they're referred to as FIAs, fixed index annuities. And really, the thing is with those is the heartburn, as anybody, regular listeners know, my heartburn is how they're sold, not necessarily what they do. What they should be sold is this. They should be a capital preservation play. They should be a play that where you at least have the chance, not the guarantee, but you have the chance of beating a fixed income product like a bank CD or treasuries. And for those the FIAs that have an income rider on there, that you have the ability to turn on a stable income stream later down the road. If they're sold as any more than that, they're being oversold. So, and especially, again, fear selling, don't let fear dictate your investment choices. For those of y'all that are going to things like dinner seminars, if you're going to a dinner seminar and you decide to make an appointment with the advisor/producer that put it on, just know 99% of the time you're going to have a fixed index annuity on the table, and 99% of the time it's going to be explained in more simple terms than the product actually functions. These are complicated products. So if you want a second opinion, you can reach out to us. Obviously, we're happy to give you an opinion if you've got an annuity on the table, or find any fee-based or fee-only financial advisor. I probably would go towards the independent route, but they're going to tell you, get an opinion before you sign up on any of those things. Don't let the fear of the market crashing shove you prematurely into an annuity product. All right, we're just on number 4. I got to get going here. Number 4. So I can say a broad statement. These are the 5 secrets of having a happy retirement. I can say a broad statement like volunteering in retirement will make you happier. And that's all well and good. That's ChatGPT advice it gave me when I was trying to help put this show outline together. But I want to be more specific. First, if you are listening to this show and you are in your 50s, 60s, or even your 70s and beyond, the one thing I can tell you statistically is that you are going to live longer than you think, which means your current life plan is probably too short-sighted. This matters a lot in my line of work because one of my jobs is to make sure you don't outlive your money. In the country, the old joke was, I want my last check to bounce. Well, okay, fine. That's kind of funny. It's cute, but that's not really a plan. What matters is that you all don't want to outlive your money. But for those of y'all that are in this age group, including me, it matters because you do not want to outlive your purpose. I know that what I'm about to say is going to seem a little counterintuitive, especially when I'm in an industry that I sometimes get to help people retire, quote unquote, young or early. And it's a great thing. And a lot of times it's well deserved. But for a lot of you, I don't want you to be afraid of working longer. Don't be afraid of committing to various educational, church, volunteer groups, maybe taking on a reduced role or consulting role at your place of employment. A lot of times people get in this little bubble where they don't realize how much knowledge they actually have compared to the people that are much younger than them, and how they can change if they just with a little different mindset, they can go from a W-2 mindset to a consulting 1099 mindset, sometimes make as much or more money for less hours. We can help you with that mindset for sure. But don't be afraid of committing these things unless you're my mom who listens to the show who needs to stop saying yes. But here's why it's important for staying plugged into our current times, why it matters to both you and to the bigger picture of humanity. Not only is it going to make you happier in retirement, but folks, I don't know if you paid attention, our younger generations are in trouble, and it is 100% our fault, especially young men. I am very blessed. I have two young men, two young sons, and I have a daughter. All appearances, they seem to be happy and well-adjusted, despite my best intentions of of all the mistakes I made as a father and continue to make. But there are many people, and they deal with their own stuff, and I do too. And Peyton's, the producer of the show, he's probably cringing listening to this right now. But there are many people in their 20s and 30s, many young men that are lost. They feel that there is no hope of having a truly successful life. They feel like, whereas my generation and your generation that is listening, we grew up with a reasonable expectation that we were going to have more economic success than our parents. I'm telling you right now, the younger generations don't have this expectation across the board, and that is our fault. But you're listening to this show, you have time to do something about it, and that absolutely circles back to this number 4, is you do not want to outlive your purpose. And one of the things that you can do is not only stay plugged in, again, whether it's continuing to work or work in a different capacity or volunteering or all those things. If one of the things I think that where you can make a real impact on humanity and on your own purpose is to find areas where you can help the younger generations. I hope I didn't come across as preachy, but I think it is so important to both retirees and also to humanity. All right. And that leads us to the 5th one. So let's recap real quick. The top 5 secrets to a happy retirement, according to Josh Null anyway. 1, form a trusted and on it financial team. That's important. 2, social media is fine. Just don't get in pointless arguments. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your breath. You got more important things to do. Number 3, don't let fear dictate your investment choices. Number 4, finding purpose, but finding a specific way of getting purpose. Not just, hey, I'm going to go out and meditate next to the lake. Let's figure out a way to actually have purpose and also leave a legacy behind, which leads us to number 5. And this is the part where I'm going to lose some of y'all, and I'll probably lose some listeners, but I don't care, because this has probably been one of the most important things I've done in my life that has helped with my happiness. And it's one of the things that I see a key trait in the retirees of clients in my life, and I can see the contrast in some of my family that does this or doesn't do this, and some that does. So let me give you a little context real quick. One of the best pieces of advice I got years ago is from a mentor. His name is Eric Lucy. It went something like this. I was a road warrior when I was 5 years, first 5 years of my career in this business in financial services. I was a road warrior. I worked for Eric's company, and I was on the road a lot. I driving all over the time, so I'd often have my dial turned to talk radio. Rush, Savage, Hannity, et cetera, you name it. And I was constantly stressed by the events in the world. Eric, as a mentor, would listen to me talk about the end of times all the time. Like, oh my God, America's screwed. What are we going to do? And he got sick enough hearing about it. He challenged me. He said, Josh, here's what I want you to do. I want you to turn off all that stuff for 6 months. Then at exactly the 6-month mark, I want you to turn it back on. I want you to listen to it for a couple of days, and I want you to come report to me, and I want you to tell me if anything has changed or if anything's been solved. All right? So here's my specific advice for having a happy retirement. Turn off the cable news. All of it. Both sides. It's not there to educate you or enlighten you. At best, it's there to entertain you. At worst, it's there to enrage you. Don't let them suck you into the grievance culture. And I'm talking about both sides here, folks. We split the baby when it comes to political on this show. This is not a political show. I consider myself a very independent-minded person, so you can kind of extrapolate how I view my politics. I'm fairly independent. But read instead of watching the news, especially cable news. Again, both sides. The thing that you can do if you want to stay informed and you want to have a happier retirement is to read the news. Read the news from multiple sources so that you can understand all the angles. Regular listeners know I've said this before. Anytime I want to see if a headline is really, really cutting through and impactful that I should pay attention to, I'll look at all spectrums of the news cycle. Is New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Politico, and Fox News talking about it, then I need to pay attention. That means it's cut through. That means it's important, right? So as you're going through and trying to have a happy retirement, turn the TV off, read. I promise you will not, just like my mentor Eric Lucy said, he told me, he said, not only will you find that nothing has been changed or has been solved, you'll also find that you didn't miss out on anything important. And man, he was right. So that is it. Listen, folks, if you're waiting on a TV analyst or star or a YouTube celebrity or even some politician to save you, to make your life better, you're going to be left wanting. They are not there to solve problems. They're there to keep you continuing to watch. So shut the noise off and make your own life better. Trust me. I challenge any of you listeners, turn it off. Forget 6 months. Do 3 months. Turn it off. Turn it all off. Then shoot me an email. Shoot me on my website or through email. Shoot me a message and tell me what has been changed or what has been solved. I'll wait. All right? Okay, folks. Well, wrapping up this segment, we will along. If you would like to start the conversation with us at Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, we encourage you to reach out. Give us a call, 251-327-2124, or find us on our website. That's Gulf Coast FA, that's FA as in financialadvisor.com. On the site, you can click in the blue button in the upper right-hand corner. That will put a 15-minute, or pardon, we just changed this here a few months ago. We got 3 different choices for meeting. It can be as simple as a 15-minute introductory phone call. It can be a 30-minute Zoom, or my personal preference, let's meet in person. We have 3 convenient office locations. We're in downtown Fairhope in the Portico development. We have an office in Orange Beach. It's just right down the road from the wharf. And we have an office in Mobile. It's right off the intersection of Dolphin Street and I-65. However you reach out to us, give us a call, give us a Zoom, give us an in-person meeting. We'd love to meet with you. All right, folks, coming up next, as we did in the show opening, I'm calling an audible, and instead of doing our normal headlines of the week segment, I'm going to give you 4 to 5 financial books that you must read, and because I guess I'm just wanting to aggravate people today, the one you must throw in the trash. All right, so stay tuned.
A multidimensional financial services company, Providence Partners serves the needs of independent insurance, financial, and employee benefit professionals. The team at Providence Partners serves other business professionals like property and casualty agencies, registered investment advisors, community banks, and benefit brokers to assist in their clients' risk management planning. Whether an individual or business owner client, this planning includes income replacement protection, planning for extended healthcare costs, family needs, and generational transfers of wealth. At Providence Partners, we give you access to industry specialists. Those specialists focus on business succession, business owner planning, family and household protection, estate planning, planning for that income loss, or planning for long-term care solutions. Providence Partners is an Alabama-based company. We have offices in Birmingham and along the Gulf Coast. Our website is providencepartners.org, and you can reach us any of the working days.
Welcome back to Coasting Retirement. Your host Josh Knoll here. So, as we discussed before the break, typically what we do on our second segment is headlines of the week. But I'm flying solo this week. Michelle is off. She's got a bunch of stuff going on. She'll be back in 2 weeks. Next week we got Jay Stubbs coming in to guest co-host. Looking forward to that. But since I had a little bit of freedom here, a little flexibility being solo, I wanted to mix this up. And so instead of doing news headlines, what I want to do for this segment this week is give you 4 to 5 financial books that have been the most important in my life. And I'm a financial advisor, and I think I'm a pretty decent one. And I'm going to give you the one book that just, if you have it, get rid of it, donate it, burn it, trash it, whatever you do, just don't read it. It's terrible. So let's start this way. All right, here we go. Number 1, I'm going to start with the single most important book on investing and savings that has ever been produced. That's a big statement, right? And I'm going to follow up that big statement with a guy that can be a little controversial. Especially he's gotten older. He's gotten a little cantankerous. But that book is called The Total Money Makeover, and it's by the well-known financial guru, if you will, Dave Ramsey. So this book has been out for many years. He wrote it a long time ago. But this was the book that I credit with getting my mindset, washed of the garbage that was put into it by another book we'll talk about later in this list, but getting me set on the right direction for my financial advising career when basically my first career, if you will, in home construction, real estate development, and real estate fell apart in 2008. I'd gone to college, got an economics degree. I got a double major, but the economics was the important one, to do what I do now. But I just had gone a different direction. So coming back in, I needed a complete mindset shift, and this book provided it. Here's the thing. The funny thing is, it's all the advice that my grandma would have given me. You know, this was the origin of the baby steps, which for those of y'all not familiar with it, it's pretty, again, this is common sense, but credit to Dave Ramsey. He put it together in such a readable and compelling package that it's had generational impact on wealth, without a doubt. You know, baby steps. Save money for an emergency fund first. 2, pay all your debt off except your mortgage. Step 3, get 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. Step 4, put 10 to 15% of your income into retirement. Step 5, look at your college fund. Sorry, your children's college fund, pardon. Step 6, pay your home off early. Step 7, build wealth and give generously. And our last episode we did, there's a reason I want to bring up this book, because the last episode we did, which you can find if you go to the podcast tab of our website, but we talked about our ideal client. Now, we serve a lot of different clients, a lot of different ages. There's no way I can just pigeonhole my client base as one single thing, but there is definitely a segment of it that have done exactly what Dave Ramsey does in this book. They've taken relatively modest salaries and they've created generational wealth with it, and it's so cool. And without exception, they've done it by not carrying a lot of consumer debt. Now, they've had to, especially you business owners, and I'm a business owner, even starting this business, I had to go in the till a little bit. I mean, sometimes if you're trying to grow a business and you're trying to grow a business quickly or in a large capacity, some of the stuff is not really going to apply to you for you risk takers. So understand that. But it really applies for some of you all that maybe have taken risks too frivolously, like I did in my 20s with real estate and learned a very bitter lesson. Or some of you that maybe are going to be dedicated workers for years at a job, and you're worried about, well, how can I ever accumulate enough to retire? I can tell you, if you'll follow Dave Ramsey's steps, you get a very high likelihood of success. The book is not about which investments to pick and which not. It deals really heavily into budgeting and paying off debt. But in my opinion, if you're going to read any financial book, read the Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. Number 2. And this kind of ties in. It ties in with the last episode, too, with our ideal client. This book is so much fun. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. The Millionaire Next Door. I can't remember who wrote it. I don't think he's a super famous author. I think, he's dual author. That's why I don't know him as well. But The Millionaire Next Door, it's a little heavily statistics-based for, dorks like me, that economics guys and financial advisor guys. I love it. But it gives such fascinating information and statistics about who is actually building real sustainable wealth, who is the actual millionaire that you don't even recognize walking down the street. As you all can imagine, I mean, and this is true with any financial advisor, I have some flashy clients, but the majority of my multimillionaire clients, you would never know. You just would never know. And I think that's so cool. I love it. And, part of this is you're looking at financial independence over social status. That's a hard thing to do. I have pressure in my line of work to drive a certain car, to wear a certain suit, and all that. And I get picked on a little bit. Regular listeners know that I pay cash for my cars, and they're the fleet, as Michelle calls it, is not going to impress anybody. But guess what? I haven't had for many, many years. I haven't had a car payment, and cars are depreciating assets, and that's just one of the things that I follow along with this. This is a thing that they talk about a lot in this Millionaire Next Door book, and I completely agree. Is keeping your unsecured and your depreciating assets debt to a minimum, obviously within reason. You got to have a reliable car and things like that. But for those of y'all that like statistics, you'll love this book. I'm probably going to misquote this, and I could be totally wrong, but if I remember it's been a while since I read the book. I've read it many, many times, though. There was one time in the history of Chevy Suburban's sales where the Chevy Suburban buyer had a higher income than the Cadillac Escalade buyer, even though the Cadillac Escalade was many tens of thousands of dollars more price. I found that really interesting. That may have flipped, but at one point that was true, I think, during the financial crisis. So I find that interesting. All right, next up, we got to keep moving fast here. So I think I'm going to give you, it's a twofer. It's by the same author. Again, a little bit of controversy around him. What's up with these guys? But Michael Lewis. He wrote 2 books. In my opinion, his 2 most important books are his first book. It's called Liar's Poker. And then he wrote a book called The Big Short, which was made into a movie, had a bunch of stars in it. Regular listeners know that I try to give a peek behind the curtain as to how my industry actually works. Well, I can tell you that Michael Lewis actually just rips the entire curtain down in certain segments of the industry here. And I think, even though like his first book, Liar's Poker, which was written, gosh, man, it's been a long time ago. It's going to be a little dated, but it gives you an accurate description of the greed and the aggressiveness of the broker world. Now, some of that world doesn't even exist anymore, really. And I would argue that the brokers have kind of lost out to the advisors in my line of work. Broker guy, if you disagree with that, call me and convince me otherwise. But that's all. I think the advisors, it's been leaning that way and it continues going that way. But nonetheless, still very entertaining book, very insightful. You're going to learn more about the bond market and equities than you ever cared to, but you're also going to have a better picture of how there's monumental Wall Street push is behind everything that we do in our industry. And then, of course, The Big Short is about the guys that kind of called the crash of 2008 early and profited immensely from it. The real estate, the mortgage crash. Again, fascinating book, fascinating movie, great movie. And it kind of, in my opinion, it kind of gives you it helps you be a little skeptical when everyone's running the same direction. Not that you don't want to maybe run along some, but you got to be careful. And a lot of times it's really beneficial to run the opposite direction. That's what about The Big Short is about. All right, let's move on to, we're just going to do this because I think those are 4 great books and I'm running short on time. So I'm going to give you the one book that if you haven't bought it, don't. If you have it, pull it out, light it on fire, throw it in the trash. Now, don't throw it in the trash while it's still burning. That might be bad. But the book is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it's by an author named Robert Kiyosaki. In my opinion, this is the single most damaging financial book that has ever been written. At least it was to my life. I mean, Lord help me if I'd never learned about OPM. That's a fancy way of saying other people's money. And if I hadn't learned that stupid theory and applied it to incredibly, so dumbly and aggressively and arrogantly to my young real estate career, who knows? I'm glad I ended up here, but things would have gone very different. Rich Dad, Poor Dad has a lot of good advice about owning things, owning assets, appreciating assets. It's not all bad. The bad part of it is that once you learn to read between the lines of what he's actually saying, and once you kind of follow his career, which is, again, all these authors have had some issues. None of them have come close to the issues that Robert Kiyosaki has had. I mean, I think he's been sued 29 ways from Sunday. But the thing that once you learn how to read between the lines is he's basically telling you to leverage yourself to the hilt and take that leveraged money and put it into what are hopefully appreciating assets. Well, you can't always guarantee that. I mean, people would argue in 2006 that house prices would never go down. Well, guess what? They did. Within a year, they did. And so just with that book, don't ever read it. Don't let your kids read it. Get rid of it if you got it. It's a terrible book. It was terribly damaged in my career, to my early career. And fortunately, I was able to pivot and read what I needed to read, starting with Dave Ramsey's The Total Money Makeover. All right, so those are the books. If you didn't get a chance to write all those down, we will have them listed in our show on the show transcript. Go to the podcast tab after the show airs on our website, and you'll find this show and all our previous shows. Go check them out; they're really good. So speaking of that, if you all want to reach out to us, if you want to discuss your own personal retirement dreams and goals, why don't you give us a call? That's 251-327-2124, or find us on the website, gulfcoastfa.com. And again, FA is in financialadvisor.com. On the site, there is a blue button in the upper right-hand corner. You can click that. We'll put something on my calendar, phone call, Zoom, or again, my preference, let's meet in person. That way we can kind of fill each other out, see if we're going to be a good fit. Downtown Fairhope. We're also in Orange Beach. We're also in Mobile. So we're kind of everywhere. And we also got some big news on our 4th location coming here soon, but we'll save that for next couple weeks. All right, folks, coming up next, Joshua's crystal ball and big mouth would have been some of my predictions. Was I right? Was I ever wrong? What do I think is going to affect investors in the near future or maybe the distant future? We talk about all these things. Poke a little fun at my big mouth. Stay tuned. Whether it's building a business from scratch with your own 2 hands and wanting to maximize the financial impact of those sacrifices, are growing a great nest egg by being a dedicated and reliable worker for years, or choosing to live a life well within your means in order to accomplish a lifelong dream of retirement, the last thing you want is to go with the wrong financial advice after you've worked so hard to accumulate your assets. You've also probably spent most of your life putting others' needs ahead of your own, and now it's your turn. We can help. Gulf Coast Financial Advisors is a locally owned, independent, fee-based financial planning, investment management, and tax planning practice. We have offices in Fairhope and Orange Beach. We serve all of Baldwin County and the Gulf Coast. We also have an easy-to-understand fee-for-service model with no sales quotas, no proprietary products. Our ultimate responsibility is to our clients' goals and dreams. You can reach us at 251-327-2124 or find us online at gulfcoastfa.com. That's GULF, like the Gulf of Mexico, Coast, FA as in financialadvisor.com. Welcome back. Your host, Josh Knoll here. So, I'm opinionated. I have strong opinions at times. I guess I would say a radio show host that isn't opinionated would probably be very, very dull to listen to. More importantly, I'm paid in my profession to offer professional guidance and opinions to my clients, otherwise just replace me with AI, right? I like to make predictions, and because most of my predictions are going to be centered around financial services and financial advising and investments, because that's what I do, and because I am fairly skeptical of my own industry, maybe sometimes a little too much, maybe too much of a chip on my shoulder, but that's just who I am. A lot of times I'm proved right, but there are times I swing and miss. So if you want to hear me eat a little crow, let's get at it with Josh's crystal ball and big mouth. So here's the thing. One of all the predictions that I've made over the years, including the incredibly dumb one I made back in 2022, I tried to convince Jay Stubbs that inflation just mathematically could not last very much longer, blah, blah, blah. It was the dumbest thing ever. I think I was calling it, I think I missed the mark by 16 months. I mean, it was that bad. It was such a bad swing and miss. But with all that said, with all the stuff I've said, there is probably one topic that is the most important to date in my career right now. And it is this: how big is the artificial intelligence investment bubble, the AI bubble, and when will it pop? How big is the bubble? When will it pop? Okay? Now, notice I don't give you any ambiguity there on is there a bubble, because there is undoubtedly an AI bubble. Remember, bubbles are typically short and sometimes medium term. Like we saw in 2008, there was a lingering effect there, but never long term. Bubbles never last the long term. Now, one could argue that the entire stock market has been in a 100-year bubble, and you kind of have an argument, but okay, fine. What good does that do you? Bulls, people that invest for the long-term appreciation have always won in the long term. So I want to talk about an AI bubble for a couple specific reasons, with the understanding is, I think, and I could be wrong, but been doing this a while, I think we're in an AI bubble. I also think that AI bubbles tend to be short and medium term. So how much, one, we're going to talk about when will it pop, and the most important thing is, what should you do about it? So first, this is really important for context around the AI bubble. Nearly all of the stock market and gross domestic product GDP gains over the last couple of years, I don't know the exact percentage, but a significant chunk can be traced back to AI investment, actual investment, like with good grief, cloud computing centers and things like that, and with investing enthusiasm. Almost all the gains across the board. That's not a good balance. You want a balanced economy. We don't have a balanced economy. You want a balanced stock market. We don't. We have top heavy on both, right? Second, the numbers, this is my argument for the AI bubble. The numbers are starting to not add up. I can give you all kinds of examples. Let me give you an easy one here. Probably the most well-known AI company right now is ChatGPT. I don't think anybody would argue with that. Now, my numbers on this example I'm going to give you are going to be a little off, but they'll be close enough. ChatGPT is on pace for somewhere around $13 billion in revenue for 2025. That's really impressive. It's still a private company, not publicly traded. ChatGPT, this $13 billion in revenue, remember, that's not gross profit because they're probably barely profitable, if profitable at all. But this $13 billion company recently signed a cloud computing deal with Oracle that is $300 billion over 5 years. That means that ChatGPT is committed to pay Oracle $300 billion for cloud computing services over the next 5 years. So let me break that down for you all. Mom was a math teacher, and I think this is easy. A company that is making $13 billion per year is on the hook to pay one company for one contract $60 billion per year for 5 years. That's just one contract. So how's that work? Well, it doesn't, right? You either have historical growth in the value of ChatGPT and revenue, or they take on a massive amount of debt. Either way, more likely than not, what is happening is these companies are getting overcommitted because this is the part of the bubble that concerns most people. It becomes a circular deal. Hey, I'm going to boost your revenues and probably your stock price by committing to this contract, because guess what? When you do the business on the other side, it's going to come back to me. You're cloud computing using your data centers, but guess what? You're using my chips, right? So this money just flows in a circle. That's not a good sign. That's in a smaller scale. That's what happened during the .com bubble. But here's the thing: bubbles are always they're always called too early. The old joke is economists have accurately predicted 22 of the last 3 recessions. So remember that. We won't know the bubble is about to pop until the massive fire hose of money being invested is cut significantly. And usually that's hard to tell in the moment. It's always hindsight. But what you can do about it is you want to have, one, it's hard to be diversified right now in normal quote-unquote stock portfolios because the indexes are so heavily weighted towards the big AI companies. There's no avoiding it. If you have an S&P 500 index fund right now, you are heavily percentage-wise invested in AI. Fine, right? Or not fine, but I mean, it just is what it is. So you want to diversify. You want to look at, do I have some diversification among multiple classes, not just with funds, but also probably with some individual stocks? And then, we don't have time because we're running short, do I have a strategy for when there is ultimately going to be at least some volatility, ultimately going to be at least some type of stock sell-off, and potentially there's going to be a big bubble pop? What is my plan on the other side of that, other than just sitting on the sides and going back to our original thing of letting fear dictate my investment strategy? That's not a strategy. We have a strategy around handling this very specific issue. And with that, I'm going to leave you there because I'm hoping that you'll reach out and we can talk about that strategy in person. You can, again, one last time, give us a call, 251-327-2124, or go to the website. That's gulfcoastfa.com. Upper right-hand corner, blue button, click it. Let's talk, 15 minutes. Let's Zoom, 30 minutes, which I don't particularly like Zoom, but some people do. Or my favorite, let's meet in person. 3 office locations, downtown Fairhope, Orange Beach, or Mobile, near Dolphin Street and I-65. Make sure you reach out to us, folks. I think it's worth the conversation, and there's no cost or obligation. I am just, in person, I'm just like I am on the radio. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but what you see is what you get. All right, that is our show for the week. I want to give a huge thank you to our show sponsor. That's Providence Partners and Mr. Jay Stubbs. Thank you to our awesome radio station. That's FM Talk 106.5 out of Mobile. Many thanks to the provider of our show music. That's local band Sloth Racer. Huge thank you to the show producer. Mentioned him earlier. That's my son, Peyton Null. And as always, my sincere appreciation for all of you out there that have been listening and joining us on this journey. We'd love to be a part of your journey as well. Till we talk again, have a wonderful and productive week. This has been Coasting in Retirement with Josh Null. Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, LLC, known as GCFA, is a registered investment advisor offering advisory services in the state of Alabama and in such other jurisdictions where it is registered, filed the required notices, or is otherwise excluded or exempted from such registration and or notice filing requirements. Registration does not indicate or imply that GCFA has attained a particular level of skill or ability, nor does it constitute an endorsement of the firm by the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, or any other state securities regulator. The Coasting in Retirement radio program serves mainly to disseminate general information, including those pertaining to GCFA's advisory services, together with access to additional investment-related information, publications, materials, and links. The publication of this radio show should not be construed by any client and or prospective client as GCFA's solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions in securities, nor should be interpreted as GCFA providing personalized investment advice or any type of professional advice for compensation wherever this program is broadcast. Any subsequent direct communication by GCFA with a prospective client will be conducted by a representative that is either registered or qualifies for an exemption or exclusion from registration in the state where the prospective client resides. Certain information, news stories, headlines, data, charts, graphs, figures, or statistics presented on this radio program may have been obtained from third-party sources that are believed to be generally reliable, but which GCFA may not have independently verified. GCFA does not and cannot guarantee the timeliness, accuracy, or reliability of any such third-party information and undertakes no obligation to update or correct any information that may become obsolete, unreliable, or inaccurate. This radio program also contains the opinions, views, and perspectives expressed by Josh Knoll and any other GCFA representative, which are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions, views, or perspectives of GCFA as a firm. Such personal views and opinions should not be construed as endorsements or professional advice from GCFA. GCFA makes no representation or warranty regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any information on this radio program and disclaims any liability for any direct or indirect loss or damage incurred from using or relying on such information. GCFA and Providence Partners are not affiliated, nor are any of their respective representatives.